What's up, people? Back with another reaction and back to start a new musical journey on the channel. I'd like to start by giving a major shout out to friend and champion of the channel, Michaela, who sent me a very best of Bonnie Tyler CD. And on this compilation, there's a couple tunes I recognize, the most notable of which is the one we're going to start with, but eventually I'll go through the whole album, or the whole compilation, I should say. And yeah, the tune we're going to listen to is Total Eclipse of the Heart. Given how significant this tune is in sort of pop culture and 80s musical history, I feel like it's the kind of reaction where some people who do not know the channel prior may show up. So if you are new here, welcome. As you will see, I have a very old school DIY setup. Admittedly, I'm getting closer to doing video reactions, but for the year and a half or so that I've been doing reactions, I do a sort of, I put on a record, I put on a CD, and we listen to the tune. Ultimately, I was born in 1980, so I was a single-digit kid in the 80s. I was a teenager in the 90s, so my musical references are sort of age contextualized in that way. So there's a lot of 80s artists where I knew them to some extent as a kid, and as I got older and, started to get some disposable income and tried to follow the greater discographies of some of these groups. There were other names that I would hear along the way, and Bonnie Tyler was one of them. And this tune is certainly one I've heard. Now, I feel I would be remiss if I didn't comment on the version that you hear at the beginning of Old School when I think the Dan Band is, I think, their name. When they cover it with, added profanity and a bit of a different vibe. And that reminded me at the time in my early 20s. I was like, oh man, I remember that track. And so at that point I went and I re-listened to the original. So it's a tune that's come back over the course of my life a number of times. Admittedly, I don't think I've listened to it for a few years. I would guess in the 2010s at some time was the last tune, or the last time I would have heard it. Nevertheless, it is a top track. I remember it's very epic, it's very dramatic, it's long. I want to say it's like almost 7 minutes long. So this is a tune that I know on some level, but it's been a while, so there'll probably be some moments here and there that don't come back to me until we get to them. And yeah, I remember hearing at some point that Bonnie Tyler's distinctive voice, which isn't her name, it's like Gaynor Hopkins, I believe. I remember learning that and being like, wow, that is very different from her stage name. So, but I believe she had surgery at some point, and for whatever the particular damage that was done, it sort of altered her vocal cords to the point where she became known for like a deeper, huskier voice. So I'm sure some people will know much more about that, but I do remember reading that at some point. Regardless, let's get into it. This is Total Eclipse of the Heart. Normally when I do reactions, I talk about either the lyrics I know, if it's a tune I have heard before, or if it's a tune I haven't, I'll think about the title and what it suggests to me. This one is sort of in between. It's, a song I remember. I remember certainly some of the lines, especially like, the opening stanza. But I wouldn't say I know it back to front, and I don't remember like the specific context of the narrator and the person she's singing to. So we'll try to pick it up as we go. But yes, this is Bonnie Tyler, Total Eclipse of the Heart, heard here as part of her very best of Bonnie Tyler compilation, which I believe is like in the 90s. When did this come out? I think it's 1993. So here we go, Bonnie Tyler, Total Eclipse of the Heart. Or whoops. context of the relationship, but some of those lines, it's basically like the gamut of experience, right? There's times where it's like, it's not working, or, there's things that are like specifically wrong with this other person. But then there's other times where she remembers that, like, but you were the only one who took me as I was, who didn't want to change me, or who didn't like only like parts of me, and who were, was less pleasant to like other aspects of my personality. You were the one that was there. And then there's other times where it sounds like she'll do anything, like, and she really needs him tonight. So it sounds like she's saying, as I think I mentioned during the moment, that it's complicated being in love with someone, and you can go from feeling very hot to very cold, and there are times where maybe it doesn't make sense, but in the end, if she gets to hold on to him, she's going to hold him forever. So yeah, it sounds like it's complicated to be in love, but at the end of the day, I need you tonight. Like, I need you more than ever, even if it's not always perfect. So I'm sure there's some elements there I'm missing. Do let me know. Again, this is a song I'm aware of and I've heard, over the decades, but which not for a few years, and ultimately not something like, Depeche Mode or some other groups where I sort of latched onto them early on. So there's tunes from the 80s of theirs that I've heard, hundreds of times, if not, quadruple digits. So either way, her vocal performance was even better than I remembered. And again, I remember the huskier, deeper end, but not to the degree, not nearly to the degree. And I also remembered she can do some of those high, very elegant, melodic vocalizations, but maybe not to the degree that we heard. Now, I'm curious, I think there's a male voice offset with her, right? I want to know who that is, because there's a couple moments there where I was like, dang, like that backing vocal is really good. And then it sounds like also there was like a female choir type of vocal, but maybe that's just Bonnie, layered in and duplicated or tripled. Either way, my inclination is to lean more toward its other female singers, but if you do know, let me know one way or the other. And yeah, it's just a big monumental tune. I suppose it could be seen as a bit like over the top because it's so grand, but I love it. I think it's fantastic. And when she goes like hard and like, raspy, I think it's just like her performance is insane. So yeah, really incredible vocal performance. Looking forward to going through the rest of this. Again, which one was it? There's like one other that I remember, Straight from the Heart. I feel like I recognize that tune, and that one is next on the compilation. Maybe I'll do that one next. Maybe I'll just go back to the beginning and then go through them in order, because even if I did that, it wouldn't be too far in the future. So bottom line, once again, shout out to Michaela. Looking forward to catching up with Bonnie Tyler and beginning to know her music to a greater degree than I did growing up. So yeah, let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.